Hi, horror film recap here. Today, I'm going to explain the American drama thriller film called Winter War. Watch out and take care. The movie begins with a soldier trying to cheer up Corporal Hanak, who seems to be exhausted from the war already. He used to be a force to be reckoned with. The 1st French regiment of paratroopers had been through a lot before being assigned to Alsace to fight with an American unit in an effort to liberate Alsace, a cultural region in eastern France. The regiment had already lost almost half of them during the war in Vosges. They are also aware that some, if not most of them, won't make it out now that they are in Alsace. Once they arrive, one of the new recruits introduces himself to Hanak. The corporal lets him know that he prefers not to know his name or the names of the other rookies, as it would be hard for him to deal with it in the event that they are killed on the battlefield. Hanak then endorses them to Chief Lieutenant Morel, as he is invited to headquarters to have a meeting with the troops from the US infantry. Not long after arriving in Alsace, the troops are already under attack. The enemy uses mortars and other weapons to overwhelm them. One soldier screams for help as he gets hit with a mortar. A medic is then called to help. Mayer, the team's chaplain, risks his life to comfort and pray for the wounded soldier. Another soldier comes in to take the injured soldier to safety. A French lieutenant receives a report with regard to the location of the Germans. He then assembles his own small team and proceeds to the position of the Germans. He orders his men to wait for the Americans to open fire before they engage. He instructs Jonah and Felder where to position themselves and to use grenades once a gunfight ensues. As soon as the Americans start shooting, the two throw grenades as instructed, surprising the Germans even more. Carlo is shot at point-blank range. When Moretti checks on him, Carlo becomes hysterical, believing that he's about to die. Moretti confirms that there's no blood anywhere and lets Carlo know that he is not bleeding at all and that he'll make it out alive. When the smoke finally clears, 2 German soldiers are captured. Corporal Hanak aims a gun at one of the prisoners but changes his mind. He then hits him with the back of his gun, which sends the prisoner down to the ground. When the officer is questioned why he did not execute the prisoner as he should have, he explains that keeping him alive will come in handy once they need more information about the remaining Germans. The answer does not satisfy the curiosity of the soldiers as to the reliability of their leader. One soldier is beginning to question Hanak's behavior, especially after surviving the previous battle. He appears to be losing it. He is nowhere close to what he was before. One soldier explains that just like the rest of them, the officer is already tired of the war. Besides, he just lost 2 of his closest friends in the Vosges. One even died in pain while in his arms. During a briefing, the team is reminded that they need to take back Jebsheim, but since the area is also crucial to the German forces, it will not be an easy task for them. The Germans will do whatever it takes to remain in control of the village. Hanak is then ordered by Chief Lieutenant Morel to prepare his men, as they need to be ready in 40 minutes. Hanak returns back to his team and informs them of the task at hand. He reminds them that the Germans will be waiting for them with artillery and guns ready to kill them all. They then proceed and brave the mountains. No encounter has transpired so far, but they know that the German elements can still be active outside the village. Moments later, a brief encounter with the Germans happens. The team is able to eliminate the enemy. Carlo can't contain his excitement for getting the better end of the exchanges. He is reminded that the firefight is just one of the many that they will encounter along the way. Celebrating this early is certainly not a good idea. Chief Lieutenant Morel informs Corporal Hanak that he will be joining the 2nd platoon as they provide support to the American forces in attacking a nearby village. The platoon needs him as they don't have an officer to guide them. Hanak begs Morel not to rely on him to lead the team. Besides, the French forces don't have an officer as well. Morel lets him know that he does not have a choice. He reminds Hanak that he has what it takes to keep his men together. When night comes, the team endures the unbearable cold. As they plan on letting the night pass, their location is spotted and the Germans start attacking them. Moretti is badly hurt as his arm is decapitated by a mortar. At the military hospital, it's shown that the facility is overrun after Morel's men, who functioned as support for the American troops, were overwhelmed by the Germans. Their wounded soldiers fill the hospital. As the French troops hold their post, they notice a person approaching. They can't see where the person comes from, but he seems to be closing in. Moments later, Jenkins, an American soldier, shows up. He explains that he's sent by Lieutenant Schaefer as a liaison. Shortly thereafter, Jenkins is shot in the leg as the Germans resume the attack. Both camps exchange fire until the French soldiers gain control. Despite being wounded, Jenkins plans to return back to their camp. Corporal Hanak sends Martin with him. At night, Corporal Hanak is informed that the Germans are still in control of Jebsheim, despite the French and the American forces working together to drive them away. Hanak expresses his dislike of being in charge of the team. This does not sit well with one of the soldiers, as they all expect more from him, being an experienced leader who is also from the area. The chaplain also confronts Hanak for his reluctance to lead the team. Hanak explains that Marignac is coming to take his position. Besides, a squad with a corporal medic is also heading their way. Jenkins is reunited with his unit. As Martin begins the trek to return back to his camp, he spots German soldiers coming his way. He immediately retreats and informs the Americans. They then all hide in a hole for safety. Martin radios the French troops to let them know that the Germans are coming. As the French soldiers wait for the confirmation, all they hear are gunshots. Uncertain if Martin and the rest of the Americans are gunned down, Hanak decides to look for them. Martin and the Americans are able to survive, but one of them is fatally shot. Lieutenant Schaefer reminds them that it's just a matter of time before another unit will be sent in their direction. They can't afford to let their guard down. Since leaving the area is not an option as protecting it is their task, they must hide. Hanak and his men come across two German soldiers. One is immediately killed after he refuses to surrender. When the other one tries to run, Hanak has a clear shot at him but misses. One soldier confronts the corporal for missing as Hanak has been known to be an accurate shooter, being a sniper. Luckily, another French soldier is able to capture him. As the prisoner is about to be executed, Hanak sobs and hugs him to the surprise of everyone. As it turns out, the prisoner, Rodolphe, is a brother of Hanak with who he lost contact over 3 years. Hanak begs Rodolphe to take off his German soldier uniform and use his instead. Rodolphe refuses to concede as he now fights for the Germans. Rodolphe also expresses his disappointment in having had to bury their sister by himself. Carlo reminds Hanak that they will not let go of Rodolphe. Aside from wearing the enemy's uniform, he shot at them as well. The chaplain suggests turning him over to the authorities instead. Now that killing Rodolphe is not an option, they decide to keep him as a prisoner of war. Hanak and his team resume looking for Martin and the Americans, but the prior encounter with Hanak's brother makes this journey awkward. The least that Hanak could have done was to tell them that his brother fights for Germans. As Hanak and his men reach the site, Carlo is instructed to point a gun at Rodolphe, as not doing so will make it look like they are being accompanied by a German soldier. This move proved to be effective as the French almost believed that they were being tricked. As the two units are united, the Germans take advantage of this opportunity to continue with their offensive attack. Bayard is hit in the midsection while Jonah is shot in the head. A firefight ensues until the Germans back away. One soldier beats up Rodolphe asking what the German said before retreating. Hanak interferes and warns the soldier to act accordingly. When night comes, Carlo remains indignant about Rodolphe being spared. That's just unfair, knowing what Rodolphe could have done to them if it was the other way around. Even Jenkins is annoyed with the idea, knowing that he got shot in the leg by a German soldier. If Jenkins has a say, he would have preferred to kill Rodolphe to get it over with. In the morning, they can hear the intense battle in the village. While it may sound like the French is getting the upper hand in the combat, they can't afford to be complacent, as any form of German reinforcement will pass through them. They just have to continue enduring the cold and hunger. As of now, the Germans in the village appear to be trapped. Rodolphe assures Hanak that he's still a good person, despite the unfortunate circumstances he is in now. Hanak lets him know that there's no need to tell him, as he can vouch for his brother's character. He assures Rodolphe as well that he's willing to face even his fellow French soldiers if they think otherwise. As predicted, the German reinforcement arrives. Martin is shot in the neck as he is giving another soldier a hand. An intense shootout takes place. Hanak informs the lieutenant that there are just too many German soldiers to deal with. The officer orders that they pick their targets and use one bullet at a time. At one point, a mortar lands near the lieutenant. He immediately grabs it and tosses it away. Fortunately, nobody got hurt. Hanak orders his men to make sure that they are not surrounded. Each Heil must take care of a flank. That way, they will have a full vision of the Germans wherever they go. One soldier notices that no one is watching over the left flank. He volunteers to go but is hit. Rodolphe, despite the danger, exits out of the hole and rescues the wounded soldier. In the process, he gets hit on the back twice. Despite being clearly outnumbered, the French troops are able to eventually stop the reinforcement from successfully making it into the village. Hanak shares the good news with one of the soldiers. He is surprised that the soldier is not reacting. He then finds out that the soldier has been fatally shot. While devastated that another soldier dies on his watch, nothing prepares him for what he'll discover next. He then finds out that his brother is in critical condition after being hit twice. The brothers share a hug. Hanak assures him that he will survive and that they will spend more time together. Moments later, Rodolphe succumbs to his injuries. Hanak brother's death leaves a huge hole in the corporal's heart. The loss of men under his leadership was already too much for him to handle. Now, his brother's name has just been added to that list. Hanak is never the same after that incident, despite being successful with their mission of liberating Jebsheim. Thanks for watching.